So Douglas, can you tell the viewers a little bit about you and what you're studying at University of Nevada, Reno, and also how you got involved in the organization Shopping Angels in general? Were you friendly with Jade, or how did it all work?
Yeah, so I'm a biology and Spanish major at University of Nevada, and I'm a pre-med, which
Oh, wow.
I mean technically isn't a major, but I'm in a fraternity, a pre-med fraternity. So it's not a real fraternity, but of course it is a real fraternity to me. But me and Jade and I think most of the rest of our board members, not every single one of them, but most of them are in the fraternity Phi Delta Epsilon, which is the pre-medical fraternity on our campus. And we also have medical fraternity, so it's both undergraduate and graduate level. But me and Jade had been friends, somewhat close friends, and through this we've only become closer friends. But yeah, that's really how most of our board members have gotten involved.
Mhm.
And then the coordinators, some of them are FIDE coordinators from Nevada, but sometimes we wanted a little bit more of local area knowledge, like in Virginia or something like that. Maybe we didn't know the area as well. And so sometimes we've had people reach out and say, hey, I'm from Virginia, I'd love to coordinate. And a lot of our coordinators are from those states and, the state that they're coordinating from.
Right. So Douglas, first of all, what is your role in Shopping Angels?
So for me, we all have a bunch of titles, but mine is just Chief Operations Officer. And what I do is just make everything on the back end work well, and I work on training coordinators for different states and regions.
Right. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the organization in general, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw on CNN when they did a big profile on the organization that you guys are helping a lot of people that, senior citizens, a lot of people that are shut-ins, they just can't get out of the house and they're scared because they could be affected, as far as age or health condition. They could get easily affected with this virus. Are those the main people you help? And also, can you tell us a little bit about Shopping Angels in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jade saw a need with like her close like relatives and family members and people close by in Vegas, that there was a need for people of like elderly or those with like immunocompromised conditions, those people that would be otherwise very vulnerable to the coronavirus. She saw a need to be able to help them and get groceries for them, especially since they probably shouldn't be going out more than absolutely necessary, and the less contact we could make would be definitely more helpful. And so I guess overall the purpose was just to help out people in her close area, and then she got some news coverage from that. And then after that, she wanted me and another person who's our treasurer now, Scotty, on board. And we put together a Google form, and we got a lot of volunteers. I think we now have about 8,000 volunteers all across
Wow.
the US. And the whole purpose is really to help those out that wouldn't be able to get to the store, or shouldn't get to the store, realistically speaking, because of COVID. And we've started some more programs like financial assistance. And basically, the whole process is volunteers sign up on the website as well as clients sign up for the website. That's what we call them, as clients, in the most respectful way, of course. And so that is just a dynamic that we set. We have a set coordinator for each state, and then they set up a client and a volunteer together. And then the volunteer would be able to help them out with any sort of deliveries, anything that they need to get. We've started trying to expand to get pharmaceuticals and more than just groceries, but so far we've stuck to mostly groceries just because of the logistics of, some
Okay.
pharmaceuticals are hard to get or should only be gotten by the person that they are
Yeah.
prescribed to. But overall, the goal is just to help those that wouldn't be able to get to the store or shouldn't be able to get to the store.
So
But yeah.
Douglas, how many people, I guess I would say it this way, Douglas, how many clients are you taking care of? Obviously it's all over the country, but in general, like an estimate amount.
Um, I'd say we probably have 700 already, but it's been growing and been fluctuating. And I think like even in Australia, we've had a few hundred so far. But I think it depends state to state. It's drastically different numbers depending on each state.
Tell the viewers, Douglas, a little bit of a story, maybe a story, a short story of, somebody that you've helped or, that you feel like Shopping Angels has really touched. Maybe it's somewhat of an experience. Do you have any stories you could share with the viewers about that?
Well, I'd say that like personally, I haven't done any deliveries just because I live in a pretty rural area.
Okay.
But we have had in New York. I don't want to share any client information or
Yeah,
anything,
no,
but
no, of course. Yeah.
we did have one client in New York that lived in a very rural part of New York, and most of our client or volunteer base is in the cities of New
Yeah.
York, Syracuse, and New York City, of course. And the closest volunteer was actually 2 hours away from the client, and that volunteer actually drove out to that client and was able to help them out,
Wow.
which I thought was a really, really touching thing, especially just to have such amazing volunteers. And a lot of our volunteers are just as amazing. And I'd say the grand majority, of course, are. And we haven't had any issues with any volunteers or anything. So it's been a lovely experience all the way around for us. And our clients have loved it so far, especially those that like are in cities that like, sometimes they are like, like the volunteer was good and they did everything, but they weren't as friendly. And
Right.
so maybe we'll just match them up with a different volunteer next time. But honestly, just being able to match a client up with a volunteer and then they have, a permanent friend that they can really reach
Right.
out to and ask for help from is really just a
Well, I
rewarding
agree with
experience.
you 100%. Sorry to interrupt. So what do you feel like your job will be after you graduate University of Nevada, Reno, and you finish your pre-med and you go into medical school? Will you still be, working with Shopping Angels? Will you turn into just a volunteer? What do you see yourself as with Shopping Angels?
Yeah, so I'm a junior at the university so far, or I'm an incoming junior, I guess. Uh, we wanted to make sure that this was something that we could sustain long term, and so we divided up the work very, very evenly amongst all of us. And albeit some of them are working a lot harder to reach out to organizations, to reach out to things such as like Costco, Walmart, who've been. We have a lot of corporate help, especially once we become a 501c3 that are going to help us. But for me, I want to be able to sustain this as long as we can. And we
Yeah.
want to keep this going past COVID because we know that COVID is not the only thing that we have to worry about, especially for people that are immunocompromised. There's always a risk when going out, always a risk. And I think it's really important to be able to help those people long term. And we're going to sustain this as long as we feasibly can.
What corporations are really helping you guys in this time of need?
Wow. Well, we've had a lot of corporations reach out. So
Is it
I'm not
mostly
sure.
sorry,
Hmm.
is it mostly big organizations or, mom and pop stores, small businesses or?
We've had a little bit of both.
Oh, nice.
So for masks, we've actually partnered up with uh, two very lovely people
Mhm.
called Cloak and Manners, and they are doing our masks, or they're doing Shopping Angels themed masks, and our volunteers get a discount for that as well. And besides that, it's been relatively big corporations actually. Campbell's, and a lot more. And I'm sure
Wow.
I could probably get a list for you, but there's
Right.
a lot of them that have reached out, certainly.
Wow, that's great. Because, that's important because they do have those funds and that money where they can help out. As we wind down the interview, how can people help and how can they get involved in general?
Well, the best place to go is shoppingangelsglobal.org, I think is
No worries.
shoppingangelsglobal.org.
Yeah.
And the website has a volunteer thing, a client thing, and then
Mhm.
if you need financial assistance, it's also under clients. So the best way to help out is to go there, or you could email us at, let me grab this,
Yeah, take it. We
at
can edit this out. It's not a big deal.
at home@shoppingangelsglobal.org, but I'd say the best place to really be able to help out is to sign up as a volunteer on our website.
Now, are you guys more so looking for volunteers or donations, or they're both equally needed? What do you figure?
Well, we have a GoFundMe set up, but so far you can also sponsor specific people on the website if you wanted to, or if you wanted to sponsor anyone in a specific state, we do that, which is
Wow.
our financial assistance program. And so if you wanted to donate to the organization as a whole and are like setting up of the 501c3, that would be on the GoFundMe. And if you want to help out people specifically with their grocery shopping needs, you can sponsor them specifically on that website, shoppingangelsglobal.org.
shoppingangelsglobal.org. But we'll end up the interview with this. This is Douglas Collins, and as I said, he's one of the founders of Shopping Angels. You may have heard about them on Fox in Nevada or also CNN. I know they've had probably quite a few other hits on news stations all over the country. But it's really a great organization. I really hope people, after they hear and see this interview, definitely go and help them out. shoppingangelsglobal.com. .org rather, shoppingangelsglobal.org. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
We'll put it in the description box anyway. So shoppingangelsglobal.org.